Hello everyone, welcome to the whiteboard series, and in this episode I'm going to explain about how I created a wormhole or a portal in one evening. So this whiteboard series, I'm doing it after a long time, that is almost more than 1.5 months. That is 1 month I spent going to temples, and now I'm back to whiteboard series. So I'm a bit little rusty. So anyways, I'm going to share my experience, what I felt in the temple. That is recently, about 2 weeks ago, I went to Mangala Devi temple. So Mangala Devi temple is a temple which is more than 1200 years old, and it is there in Mangalore. The name Mangalore came because of Mangala Devi, that is Mangala, hence Mangalore. So that is how the town Mangalore, that is my hometown, got its name because of the Devi, Mangala Devi. So recently I went to her temple. There is every Friday I go to her temple. Sometimes I go to Mariamma, sometimes I go to Polali Rajarajeshwari, sometimes Mangala Devi. But uniquely, what happened in Mangala Devi temple was, as I was going near the temple, that is I go in my scooter, that is I have a Jupiter scooter and I go in that. So even my scooter is a guru, that is Jupiter. So I go in that every Friday to Devi temple, Saturday to Hanuman temple, Monday to Shiva temple, Tuesday to Ganapati temple, Wednesday to Vishnu temple, Thursday to Guru Dattatreya temple, and all the Daivas like Koragajja, Goliga, Panjurli, and Friday for Devi. So it was like a normal Friday, and I went to Mangala Devi. And as I was going near the temple, I was carrying a lot of worries. That is, I had a lot of worries in my mind. Like I was having worry about my students. That is, some of my students were facing some health issue, and that's why I was a bit worried. And some were facing some family problem. Some were facing problems with sadhana, and all these issues was feeling like a burden for me. That is, I was handling it in my mind. That is, every time I sit for sadhana, these things used to come in my mind, like what will happen to this person, and also I have worries about education loan. Since I went to Chicago, like I studied in Illinois Institute of Technology, and I did my master of computer science. So regarding the loan also, I have some issues. Yeah, we are all spiritual, but at the end of the day, this Maya pulls us because of the worries. So all these issues pulls us back to Maya. I have relationship problems, I have body weight problems, I have problems related to my students. That is, some of my students are facing some issues, and I help them out through Shodasha Varga or some service like healing by Purnima. So all this is taking place parallelly, and I carry this burden onto me. And I know this is all a part of Maya, but at the end of the day, it's like a puzzle. That is, Maya is like a puzzle, and we are always solving it. It's like an unsolvable puzzle. Even if I solve all these problems, whatever I mentioned, after like 20 years, I'll be there with some other problems, like other set of problems. So the problems never end. So what it means is, Aditya, the character Aditya, will have the problems continuously. All the characters in the Maya will have problems continuously. The Maya is filled with the puzzles, emotions. So all these characters are very unique, and all the characters are fun to play. There is the consciousness from the Sadashiva state, that is the Satyaloka, from the truth. It drops down to this dream called Maya, and it is there in the Bhurloka now. That is, in the physical realm, there is a planet called Bhurloka, that is earthly plane, that is earthly solar system, and the consciousness enters as per its curiosity. Now, my consciousness has the curiosity of living Aditya's life, that is a human's life. Similarly, consciousness might have a curiosity of living a life of an animal, or some pisaj, or some yaksha, or some rakshasa in the lower loka, or some daiva or devatas in the higher loka. So whatever it may be, the consciousness enters as per its curiosity, as per its interests. So now it has come to Aditya's body, and it is living the life of Aditya. Now, Aditya's life is predestined. That is, everything from birth till death, all the problems, all the issues that he's going to face, all the happiness, happy moments, sad moments, everything is predestined. The consciousness just experiences these circumstances. Same way it experiences the life of Rahul Dravid, Virat Kohli, Narendra Modi, Donald Trump, everything. all the wars that are going on. So this consciousness experiences everything as per its curiosity. You watch news. The reason you watch news or some reel or some YouTube shorts is because you have curiosity, and that's why your consciousness is still there in the body. Same way, even I was having all these burdens, and I was going to Mangala Devi temple because every Friday I have to give jasmine flower to Mangala Devi. That is my duty. I feel responsible towards the deities. Every Monday I feel responsible to put milk on Shivalinga. Every Tuesday I feel responsible to give durva grass to Ganesha, responsible to give tulsi mala to Vishnu, responsible to give Guru Dakshina to Guru Dattatreya, responsible to give Mallige, jasmine flower to Devi, responsible to give sesame oil to Hanuman, responsible to chant Aditya Hridayam on Sundays or Surya Arghya every day. So I feel responsible towards all the deities, even the Navagrahas included, that is Surya, Chandra, Buddha, Shukra, every one of them. I feel responsible because I am taking energy from all of them, unknowingly or knowingly. We are all taking, let it be atheists or people who have belief or faith. Everyone are taking the energy from the deities which are in our Kundalini, and also the deities which are outside, that is the external world, like the Navagrahas. So we are taking the energy and we are not giving anything in return. That's why we have to go to temples and give it. That is, we have to serve the deities. And that's what I do every evening. That is, during the morning I do initiation, and the evening I do sadhana, that is the saligram rituals, and I go to temple after that. Then recently I have started going to gym because of my body weight issues, and what I feel is, the reason I'm doing this video is because there was a wormhole that opened recently. That is in the Mangala Devi temple. It was a normal Friday, and I was going in the scooter, and suddenly all these worries that I had, it started feeling like a dream. I was conversing with Mangala Devi in my mind. I was telling her, see, I'm bringing jasmine to you in my scooter. Please avoid the traffic jam, because every time I go from my home to Mangala Devi temple, a lot of traffic is there. And I was telling her, please remove all the traffic. I want to reach fast. So then I want to go to gym, work out. I was telling all my problems in my mind to her, and she was like, okay, everything will be all right. And I was just going. Then from one of the shops I bought the jasmine flowers. She's a very good lady there. Like she always smiles and gives the flowers, and she recognizes me, and I feel good about it because every Friday I go, and that's why she feels close to me like a grandmother. And I always give this flower to her. And this Friday, right, what happened was, Mangala Devi stopped speaking suddenly. That is, when I was going near the temple, she stopped speaking, and I just went and sat there. I was thinking, why is she not speaking? What have I done wrong? That is, I have given flowers to her as usual, but why is she not speaking with me? And what about all the burdens that I'm carrying? All that worries about students, worries about loan, worries about relationship, worries about so many things in the head. And I was thinking, like, why is Mangala Devi not responding? And suddenly, what happened was, after I gave the flowers, it's as if my body was not in my control. It's as if Mangala Devi entered my body, and she was doing rounds to herself. That is, she was doing rounds using my body around the temple. And I was going around the temple, revolving again and again, 3-4 rounds. And I was almost tired walking around the temple. And suddenly my body stopped and I sat in one place. And this was all going on without my conscious effort. That is, it was like automatic mode, as if the pilot has put the aeroplane in autopilot, and the aeroplane is being driven automatically. And my body was being driven automatically by Mangala Devi. And all these worries that I had was seeming like the worries of the character Aditya and not my own. And I was asking her, Mangala Devi, please give me the answers. How will all these worries be resolved? And she was like, everything will be all right. Your loan will be cleared. Your students will be cured. Your body weight also will reduce. You'll lose the love handles. Your relationship issues also will be resolved. Everything, she was like, it'll be good, it'll be good, it'll be good. Then finally it reached a point where I was very calm, and she took me to a memory of Chicago. That is, in Chicago also I had worries. I was so alone. I was going in Giantville. That is almost 1.5 years ago. There was a park near Michigan Lake, and since I was not having many friends, I went there alone. That is, I went to the park and I sat in the giant wheel. It was almost like $20 per ride. It was just once because I just wanted to experience it, and I sat in the giant wheel alone during that time. That is 1.5 years ago, and I was just seeing the mother nature there. That is all the sky, river, the Michigan lake, everything. And I was just thinking, why don't I have friends? Why am I not with anyone? So this was always going on in the mind. And she took me to that memory. That is Mangala Devi, the recent Friday, she took me to the memory of Chicago where I was in the giant wheel. But now, in the new scenario inside my mind, she was there with me in that giant wheel. And she was showing me the sky. And surprisingly, inside my mind, Mangala Devi had put one wormhole. That is, what she did was, in the giant wheel, she was showing the sky to me. And the sky was broken. She was showing that broken part of the sky. It was like having both stars and sun together, day and night together. And I was asking her, why is the sky broken? And she didn't reply. She was very silent. So what I realized was, deities don't respond when you have a lot of worries in your mind. They don't talk to you. But as soon as you leave all the worries, that is when they talk. That too, very slowly they talk. They don't talk like gibberish. They don't talk continuously. They talk only when necessary. That is what I observed in deities. They are very subtle in nature because they stay in the causal realm, specifically the Janaloka, where all the deities exist. And the Tapoloka is where all the Saptarishis exist. And Satya is where nothing exists. So these deities, the Mangala Devi, was speaking to me, but in a code language. That is, she was showing the sky but not telling anything. That is, she was not explaining what the sky is all about. I was just seeing the sky with her, and it was very peaceful. I was seeing the sky and I was thinking, wow,